Hey there, everybody, and welcome to Whine, Wine, and Wisdom, the show where we sit down with industry experts and talk about the hottest topics facing marketers today. Everybody ready out there? I hope so.
I'm ready.
I'm your host, Chris Adang, and we're excited to be back and broadcasting live at Magnetic Headquarters in New York City. Woo! And boy, are we excited. There's energy outside of this building in the city. That energy is here in this building today. It's on this couch. And boy, are we ready to get go because we have a great show for you today. That's right, because we're going to be talking to, I'm not overplaying this, but one of the best. Today we have with us Axel Foles. Besides having absolutely one of the coolest names in the entire industry, Axel is also the digital marketing manager for a Brooklyn-based appliance retailer, AJ Madison. Axel, thanks so much for being on the show today. How you doing?
Thanks for having me.
Well, it's great to have you.
Appreciate the free beer.
Yeah. So how are you feeling today? You feeling good?
I'm feeling great.
You ready to share your thoughts with the entire world?
Let's jump right in there.
That's why you're here,
plenty of insights here.
So just a quick, let's set expectations, right? So you're sitting on a very comfortable couch, right?
Yes.
But that by no means means that these questions that we're going to be giving to you today are going to be easy. So I hope you're ready.
Appreciate that.
Okay?
Yeah.
You feel good?
I'm prepared.
You feel loose?
I'm prepared.
All right.
I'm ready.
So here we go, everybody. I hope you're excited. Thank you so much for tuning in. So first off, Axel, I know everybody out there is on pins and needles, on the edge of their seats, wanting to know more about you. So can you please introduce yourself to the audience, talk about who you are, what your role is at AJ Madison, but in true wine wisdom style, you have to do so without saying the words digital or data. And there's a small chance if you say one of those two words that a big horn might go off.
Big horn?
The couch.
I think we should play a drinking game where everybody has to drink if I say those two words.
I like that idea a lot.
Sounds a little bit more fun that way.
Can we handle that? Okay, great.
Sounds good. All right, so let me just jump right in here. Talking about AJ Madison. So first, AJ Madison, we're an appliance retailer. We sell refrigeration, laundry, and cooking appliances. So I hope everybody just didn't leave the room because I understand it's not the sexiest of industries.
Everybody's still here. We're good.
We're good. But so with AJ Madison, it's a Brooklyn-based company, but we do national sales as well. And what that entails for me as a marketer is acquisitionally creating local campaigns along with national campaigns. I also have a hybrid role where I do a lot of merchandising. What that entails is product assortment, categories, pushing pricing, and making sure that we're competitive in all these different areas, and making sure that we're targeting the right customers from a marketing perspective.
Okay. Well, it's great to have you here today. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
So are you ready to get started?
Let's do this.
That being said, so let's do this.
I'm excited. I think you're excited, Chris, right?
So, yeah, absolutely.
Sounds like it.
So the first section of the show is called the wine section. Wine like the alcohol, hence the name of the show, right? But the title is more symbolic because today we are actually drinking beer. And that was by your request, right?
My favorite.
So, Axel, the audience should know that you are here today representing a proud Brooklyn-based company. Is that correct?
That's
AJ
correct.
Madison?
Yep.
And as a marketer, what wine, spirit, or beer company do you think has done a great job at targeting the New York market?
I think they already got a hint. We're drinking Brooklyn Lager here, if everybody could see that. Brooklyn Lager is my favorite beer for many reasons, the taste being one of them. But as a company, as a beer company, they really do a great job at understanding their target audience. They do a great job at being at the areas that they know their target audience are going to be at. For instance, I'm a big music festival fan. I'm always at these music festivals out there, and you always will find a Brooklyn Lager in my hand.
Wow.
When I'm at Madison Square Garden watching St. John's, my alma mater, probably losing in the Big East tournament, you'll find me with the Brooklyn Lager in my hand. So they really understand where they need to be in the market, especially in New York. I can't really speak to their national campaigns. And if you haven't been to their brewery, I would totally suggest going there. It's one of the most, it's the epitome of beer gardens, has the long wooden tables conducive to meeting new people. You could bring your own food. Highly recommend it. So Brooklyn Lager is my go-to.
Wow, you're obviously a huge fan, and this is really good. And I have to say, I really admire your passion. I would like to think that that passion crosses over into your day-to-day career. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So your employer is very lucky to have you with that being said, because your passion is just contagious, right? And you did say a couple of key points, which I think are going to carry over into the rest of the conversation today, right? So you said that Boston Lager does a really good job of identifying
Brooklyn Lager, I got to correct you on that one.
So thank you very much. Does a really good job of identifying the target audience, right, which is people like you. Additionally, they are able to connect with them and keep things simple and fun, right? And I think from a marketer standpoint, that's really what we're all trying to do is identify our audience and be able to connect with them and kind of create that entire experience, correct?
Exactly.
So great, so you did it, congratulations. So I know you wear a lot of hats at AJ Madison, correct?
Yeah.
And one of your main responsibilities is managing the digital presence of AJ Madison, which is a big responsibility, a lot going on there.
Yeah.
But what would you say is your absolute top challenge when it comes to planning and executing your digital strategy?
So I'm going to cheat a little bit with this question.
Sure.
I have two major challenges that we face every day. And that's one being creative uniqueness and really trying to set ourselves apart from the rest of the banner creation out there and just the oversaturation of ads that we see on a daily basis.
Okay.
Really trying to be unique and finding new ways to have our ads show above the rest. So that could have anything to do with high impact ads that we're looking into or complete page takeovers that really resonate with the customer and just more unique ways of targeting these customers. And then the second being digital attribution, which is going to be a really big pain point and discussion piece of this talk today, because there's just so much and so many different channels that we're touching on that it's tough as a marketer to really understand how each channel fits in the customer's journey to purchase and what each channel does for us in terms of marketing budget and just overall multi-click attribution and understanding what each channel is doing for us.
Okay, so it's really breaking throughout all that noise, understanding what's working, what's not working, and then designing the program around all of that.
It's not the easiest thing.
No.
No.
So a lot of themes of attribution, data, creative, and really just working within all that, of course, here. So we're going to back up 1 second first, if you're okay with that.
Sure.
And let's talk a little bit more about data. We all work with data every single day. We comb through data on a regular basis. We spend countless hours collecting data, but the challenge seems to be actually analyzing that data and using it to adjust our strategy and become more effective because of that data. Why do you think that challenge exists?
So there's a ton of different data pieces out there today. There's first-party data, third-party data, and just like internally looking at different areas of the business that you can include into your analysis. I'm totally familiar with analysis paralysis, really digging into a campaign and trying to understand the successes and the failures of it. But I often find myself digging too deeply where I don't fully remember and the challenge that we were facing and the goal that we were actually trying to drive at. So taking a step back, looking at the overall campaign, and then fully digesting what it is that you were trying to achieve, and then digging into the numbers that way, as opposed to just diving in head first and hoping that you find some key insight that's going to help you.
Okay, that's really good. So to kind of go along with that, there's a lot of data out there. There's first-party data, there's your data, then there's also a lot of third-party data, right?
Right.
Can you give some examples of how you use both of those different types of data, bring them together to make decisions and make things happen?
Yeah, I actually have a perfect example for that. So I failed to mention we do a lot of online business, but a lot of our business comes from our showroom. It's a state-of-the-art showroom out in Brooklyn. So if anybody's in the appliance market out there, definitely come check it out.
Absolutely.
It's one of the best. My only plug-in for the talk today. But the showroom itself, we're trying to drive more and more business, as is all of our competitors. And with this analysis, we looked at first-party data in specific zip codes like Brooklyn and Queens, and even further out zip codes like New Jersey and Long Island, and trying to drive at what brands, what categories sell well in these specific areas, and then marrying that with third-party data like income and age demographic information to marry the two so we can have a clear plan of action to driving customers that are closer proximity to our showroom, like Brooklyn, that would be more attuned to shopping like a Samsung, let's say, or more of a luxury community out in New Jersey who has a little bit more income to spend that would be more apt to spending money on a Sub-Zero, so we'd send creative that way.
That's great. So with all that data out there, it's really about understanding how to leverage it, how to put it all together like it's a puzzle, right? To create a unified view of the consumer, right?
100%.
The more you know about that customer, the more effective you can be at targeting them. And ultimately, I know what we're all trying to do is find that clear path to purchase, really where the customer is engaging all the way through to the basket, right? So that's great. So I know that, Axel, that there are a lot of opportunities out there where we would like to take advantage, right? Do more with. And I know, for example, you dream of being a singer one day. You probably would like
Not exactly, but
Still in
basketball player, maybe.
Okay, fine, fine. But anyway, there's always opportunities where you'd like to do more with it, right? So let's be more specific, though, and let's talk about your work strategies, your campaign strategies. Sure. Are there any strategies right now that you're currently running that you would like to be doing more with?
Yeah. I'm going to bring it right back to Magnetic and our partner with Display.
Sure.
We do a lot of great things with you guys, but we're kind of touching the surface at this point, and it's just because of our new relationship that we have.
Yep.
And there's so many opportunities out there in terms of audience segmentation and geo-targeting. Geo-targeting has a lot to do with showroom. I already mentioned that showroom is a growing portion of our business, so fully understanding where these customers are and trying to hyper target these consumers in areas that we think that are going to drive these consumers to our showroom.
Right.
And then audience segmentation and fully understanding, is it a direct response campaign or is it a brand awareness campaign? If it's brand awareness and it's a customer, let's say, in an audience segment that is 1 year out because they're shopping baby clothing, that could be an example of a customer who could be looking for a home in a year.
Right.
So that customer we would want to target a year out, build our brand awareness, because in a year when they're shopping for a new home and potentially new appliances, then they'll remember our AJ Madison name and then hit them when they're in that 2 to 3 week time period that they're shopping for appliances.
So you have a very small window of time, right?
Exactly.
And you got to maximize that opportunity as much as possible.
Yep.
It's a lot of pressure, right?
It is.
So a lot of work to do.
It's fun, though.
Absolutely. It's very exciting. So Axel, you and I have been talking the last couple of weeks. We had a discussion, and I asked you a pretty important question, I feel. What is your biggest challenge facing you every day? And you came back and you told me, what's for dinner tonight, right? Because I know that that stresses you out every single day.
Not so much anymore. I'm living with my girlfriend.
Oh, okay, there you go.
She's got a lot of great meal plans.
So it's no longer that. So it must be attribution. Is that correct?
Yes.
Attribution. So tell me more about this. Why is attribution such a big challenge? Can you elaborate a little bit more?
100%. Yeah.
Great.
Attribution is probably one of the biggest pain points for us today.
Yeah.
It has everything to do with the different channels that we have running at the same time. So if we have a March Madness campaign that we just recently launched in March, we have paid search running while running a radio campaign, while running digital display. So like all these channels are running simultaneously, where if we see interest in LG refrigerators, for instance, because they have a national campaign, is it because we're bidding more on paid search that we see an increased traffic coming from paid search to our site, or is it because we're running a radio where somebody ended up hearing it, coming back to paid search, searching it, and then coming to our site? So all these different channels running at the same time makes it very difficult for us to fully understand and digest what channel is working best for us. And it's becoming one of the biggest things that we're trying to drive at right now.
And I'm sure everybody would agree, who's tuning in live would agree that attribution is probably their #1 challenge as well. So we're all facing this every single day, which is part of the reason we're here today, is to talk through this and hopefully get that conversation started and make us all better at conquering it, right? And I think part of the challenge, Axel, is the fact that we know that it takes multiple touch points to convert a customer over a certain period of time and certain channels and so on and so forth. So I know that you're working with a multiple attribution type of model, right? Getting more advanced in terms of how you're looking at attribution. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that as well?
Yeah, we were at Last Click for a while, and then we finally, it took a while, but we finally understood that multi-click attribution is the way to go. I just read an article recently, actually, in Ad Age, and it mentioned that in 2015 to 2016, marketers in their survey jumped 50% in those who are including multi-click attribution into their
so times are
marketing.
changing.
Yeah,
times are really changing.
Yeah. So for us, it just makes sense. We have so many different channels and such a large budget that we need to look at different channels and understand how each one is working for us.
That's great. That's great. But of course, that's one big challenge, but there are other challenges, right? If there's just one challenge, we could focus all of our time on that, and that'd be probably okay.
I wish.
But unfortunately, that's not reality. There are other challenges, and one of the other challenges marketers struggle with is having the ability to make decisions based on real-time data. And in my opinion, this is going to be a priority for retailers and brands moving forward, because you want to capitalize on that moment, right? So do you now think this is possible to react to real-time data, or are we still struggling at this point in time?
It's definitely possible. Is it what we're doing currently? That's a gray area right now. But It's still something that we're fully trying to digest into our marketing strategy, and having real-time data can mean the world of difference.
Sure.
Especially when you're talking appliances. I know it's not what everybody's vertical is out there, but with appliances, it's a 2 to 3 week window.
Yeah.
If that customer hasn't made a purchase in those 2 to 3 weeks, then we've already missed them.
Yeah.
And we've found with data, even internally, that if a customer has come to our site, has left and hasn't come back in 11 days, they're not going to come back to our site and make a purchase for one reason or another. Probably Home Depot has swallowed them up or something like that.
Yeah.
But we really got to focus on real-time data because it's at our fingertips.
Yeah.
And an example being Factual. Magnetic just partnered with them. So dealing with customers who have been to our competitors' stores and trying to target them. Let's say they had a poor experience at Depot and have just left. We'll target them with display creative that speaks to them. That's a differentiating factor that would hopefully drive them to our showroom instead.
Yep. So it's all about relevancy, right? So I think that's why it's the wave of the future. Right now, marketers are communicating with their customers, but it's coming from all different directions, and it's not personalized, and it's kind of a blanket type of approach.
Right.
Moving forward to differentiate, like you said, it needs to be relevant, it needs to be triggered, it needs to be one-on-one, and it needs to be personalized in order to break through that noise you keep talking about, right? So I think you're continuing to hit on some common themes here of ways to be successful for all of us.
Yeah.
So Axel, the last challenge we wanted to talk about is acquisition, which I know is another one of your responsibilities at AJ Madison, and also very important, right? To really, the only way to grow is to bring new customers to your site.
Right.
So that's important for all of us. And in today's market, there are a ton of competitors. It doesn't matter which vertical you're in, whether it's appliances or apparel or whatever the case may be. There's a lot of competition out there, all fighting for that one single customer.
Right.
So it's very challenging, with that being said. And finding ways to differentiate on top of that, your brand versus all the other brands, I'm sure is very, very difficult, right? But what are your thoughts on ways to attract new customers to AJ Madison and convince people to take a look at your smaller brand so that you can become bigger and bigger moving forward?
Yeah, it has everything to do with how you differentiate yourself from your competitors. Obviously, it's a no-brainer, but when it comes to our business, for example, we're not going to compete on price. We're not going to compete on delivery. Those are two things that we've already put away. But in terms of selection, a Home Depot has 5 to 6 brands, whereas we have over 100 brands.
Right.
We have a very content-rich site, so it's another thing that we really, it's really our bread and butter.
Yeah.
And that's exactly how we try to preach to the customers that come to our site to educate yourself on appliances and to inspire yourself, because we not only have all this great content, we have lifestyle images that are going to really resonate with these customers and speak to them and be able to allow them to see this kitchen in their home.
Right.
So being able to speak on education and inspiration are two things that our customers really really love when it comes to our website.
Yeah.
And when they come to our showroom, it's just a totally different experience than you would see anywhere else.
Sure.
So that's what we're trying to drive at in order to take customers away from our competitors.
So the goal here is to connect with your audience, right? And to really be able to do that, you need to figure out what makes you better, what makes you different, and what makes you unique, right?
Right.
So in your case, it's selection, it's the experience, it's the information that they'll get that they're not going to get anywhere else. So you're absolutely right. If we're a marketer out there, we have to find those things that make our brands unique and special and different. And it goes back to what we talked about.
Keep sliding into this couch.
This,
jeez.
Yeah. See, don't get too comfortable. We're going to keep making the questions harder and harder. See, you should not have told me that.
Keep them covered.
Can we get some harder questions in here, because this is not good.
I'm ready for them.
But really, it does. It comes down to that experience we talked about with Brooklyn Lager, right? Because you want to create that experience for your customers. And in your case, they walk into your showroom, they're going to get experience like nobody else. Everybody else out there is looking to create that same experience for their customers, right? Would you agree?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So we are now done with the first 2 sections of our show. How do you feel so far?
Good.
You're getting super comfortable. But do you know what section is coming up next?
Wisdom.
So wisdom.
The insights.
So wisdom. So wisdom, of course, means it's going to be a little bit more difficult. And first off, I'm just going to give you a definition of wisdom just to kind of set expectations, right? So first off, wisdom is defined as the ability to think and act using knowledge, experience, understanding, common sense, and insight. So with that being said, that's kind of what we're expecting to deliver and what the audience is expecting for us to deliver moving forward. Are you ready for that?
I'm excited.
I'm super excited as well. So here we go. So we all look at tons of data. We've talked about that. The data is very, very important. We see reporting. There's metrics inside that reporting. And obviously, that's also how we measure success, correct?
Right.
But when you look at the reports, what are the 3 key metrics in that reporting that stands out to being the key 3 metrics to kind of define what's successful for you, AJ Madison?
Right. So there's always the typical KPIs that are out there, and one of them for us is the traffic sources that are coming to our site. Fully understanding, is it paid search that's driving the most traffic?
Right.
For us, with the content that we have on our site, SEO is a big thing for us because we just have all of these great terms and content behind what we're selling that we can drive organically. So understanding, what channels are working for us is one of our metrics. And number 2 is conversion rate. It's probably our biggest, mainly because when you think about it, an appliance is a major purchase. You're talking $3,000 to $4,000 AOV.
Yeah.
And with a customer like that and shopping on our site, conversion rate has a lot to do with the journey that customers are taking to purchase and just overall the site experience. So I deal a lot with our user experience guys in trying to build out new and innovative ways to make it easier for our customers to shop online when making an appliance purchase. Because if we increase conversion rate by just a small percentage, revenue is going to be way up.
Okay.
And then number 3 is cost per acquisition. So, obviously everybody doesn't have an unlimited marketing budget. So when fully understanding what each channel is costing us to acquire a customer, it just is a way for us to make it more efficient with our marketing budget.
Okay. So understanding how you define success, you would say, is critical, correct?
Yeah.
And for all of us, right? So I work in client success with Magnetic, and we partner with hundreds of clients and hundreds of launches, right? And I can tell you that one of the first conversations and first questions that we ask clients is, what are your goals? What are your expectations? What are you hoping to achieve, right? Because unless you know that, we can't optimize. We can't build creative. We can't build strategy around that goal or that expectation.
Yep.
So that's why you really, as a brand, as a retailer, you need to know truly what's important to you, the brand. So that way you can really build the plan all the way around that.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
All right. So moving right along, can you share some of your achievements in the area of attributions? We talked about the challenges of attribution, so now let's talk about some of your successes with attribution. While we know it's still a challenge, what have you learned and what works and what doesn't work?
Yeah, I mean, not from more of a digital perspective, but just utilizing the team members in your company. So customer service department, really well trained, speaks to our customers face to face, not face to face, but over the phone, and just really picking their brain because they're trained to ask questions like, where did the customer hear about us from? And really just building a rapport and getting a better understanding of who our customers are and, and how did they hear about us. So picking their brain, along with looking at reviews on our site, because that's another big thing that a lot of marketers tend to overlook, because customers are either one, complaining about the products or giving us, good feedback that we can use in our marketing strategy to further target these customers. And, just again, I mentioned user experience because shopping appliances on our website isn't always the easiest thing. It's a big purchase for a customer, so improving that in many different ways is always going to make it a better experience for the customer.
Agreed. Quick question for you, though. Have you ever worked call center phones?
No, I've never jumped on. No.
You think you'd be good at that?
I think so.
You got the voice for it. You should try that. I think you should try that
absolutely
sometimes.
hate my voice, but okay.
No. I think you should definitely try that sometime. So your job, one of your other jobs is to bring new customers to your site. Like we said before, customer acquisition is so critically important. What are some of the new ideas AJ Madison has to better use your data to target prospective customers?
So with this one, it's, understanding your business. Is it a one-time purchaser or is it a reoccurring purchaser? And then, from there, like, there's so many different ways, and one of them is cross-device matching. It's such a big thing for marketers to fully understand, is their customer first coming from mobile and then making a purchase on desktop, or are they making the purchase on desktop, and all these different devices that are out there, and trying to match up the customer and linking them from mobile to desktop is one of our biggest projects right now. Mainly because with mobile, it's more of a prospecting thing for us. It's where the customer is doing their research, not necessarily converting there. So we want to make sure that we pick up on the customer who's on their mobile phone and giving them more of a personalized experience once they come to our site. And other ways, Google likes to call these micro moments. We like to call it capturing a customer in the most opportune time. So that's one that has a lot to do with targeting and personalizing our creative, so that when we see a customer who's on our that is shopping, let's say Samsung, with more promotional heavy brand, that we're targeting them with Samsung creative because it really speaks and resonates with that customer, as opposed to somebody who's shopping more luxury brands.
Well, it sounds like you really know your audience. You know how to connect with them. You have a good thing going. Now, you have a big 2016 plan at AJ Madison, is that correct? Big year ahead. Memorial Day, which is a big holiday for your
stressing a little bit about that one. It's around the corner.
Some good sales coming up, I'm sure, though, with that being said. Lots of appliances flying out the door.
If you're in the market, I would wait a little bit.
You'll now be working the phones, which I'm excited. I'll call in. I'll say, hey, can I talk to Axel? And you'll be like, hey.
Perhaps.
So, Axel, are you aware that we have a big live audience tuning in from around the world? Are you
aware of this?
I wasn't sure. I couldn't remember if I mentioned it or not, but we do. I mean, we're talking millions, right? Did you see Game of Thrones premiered last weekend, right? Millions and millions of people tuned in for the Game of Thrones, which, is okay, right, in terms of like audience counts. But I'm very proud to say I'm pretty positive, and I could be potentially wrong, but I don't think so. I think we beat those numbers here today for Whine and Wisdom. So, in all honesty, it's not me. I mean, as soon as they heard that Axel was going to be here, they were thrilled and they wanted to tune in. So you should really good about that.
Makes sense.
But with that being said, we did take some questions from the audience as well. So are you ready for this?
Let's hear it.
So once again, the seat's going to get a little bit warmer. Are you ready? Okay. So first off, from Twitter follower J.K. Giannotti. Hope I got that right.
Yeah, I think you definitely butchered that.
I probably, for sure I did. How important is viewability as a key metric?
Viewability is huge, especially when you're talking display. It's a well-known fact that not everybody clicks. I know it myself personally that I'm not going to click on a banner. I'll more than likely search it. So with viewability, we're looking at different metrics in terms of on-site traffic. So with direct site traffic, that's one metric that we're looking when it comes to viewability of ads. But a lot of driving at this creative, it has to do with making it more unique. My first point that I brought up is trying to drive at creative that's going to really speak to the customers and that gets them to notice it as opposed to all the noise that's out there.
That's right. That's the hardest part, is building creative and imagery and design.
And really testing it.
Exactly. Messaging, the whole thing that's going to stand out and differentiate itself. I mean, if you're doing display advertising, finding something that's going to pop out of that page, if you can do that, that's the holy grail.
Exactly.
Right? So, okay, well, great. So, great question. Next question is from Twitter follower Sasha Halima. Thank you, Sasha, for the question.
Thanks, Sasha.
What do you think is the bridge between storytelling and merchandising and digital? It's a great question.
It is. So I started with the company in data entry. It's really fun. But it was content and fully understanding the product that we were selling.
Sure.
Understanding that, this refrigerator isn't the same as this one, and the price points and all this information that as a marketer I now have that innate knowledge to better understand what the differences are between brand and categories and all this that allows us to tell a better story in terms of not just merchandising on our site but also marketing to acquire new customers. And then education and inspiration are huge for us. So just allowing us to, one, bring the customer into our site, educate them on the products that we're selling, inspire them, and hopefully at the end make them convert.
Okay, great. And our next question is also from Sasha Halima. She asks, where do you see the biggest opportunity being for the appliance genre in digital marketing e-commerce currently and in the future? That's a pretty big question. Are you prepared to handle that?
Not really, no.
But that's why you're here.
Yeah. So with this one, today with digital, there's just so much going on, and as a marketer, we look at so much data, and coming back to it, it's really the personal human touch. So just touching on like all the emotional appeal that we're trying to send out to the customer. It's not data, it's actual human beings like you and I.
Yeah.
So making sure that we're not speaking to them in a data perspective, but actually messaging in a more personalized aspect is exactly what we're trying to drive at. And again, that comes back to customer service and picking their brain, because they're talking to these customers on a day-to-day basis, reviews and all this information that we have at our fingertips to better understand who our core customers are and do a better job at targeting them.
Great. All right. Well, wait. We just got one final question that literally just flew onto my paper. I don't have a name for this, but the question is, are you excited for the upcoming tour? I almost wonder if that's a different Axel that they were expecting to be on this couch today. Am I? The upcoming tour.
I wish it was me.
Are you touring this summer, Axel?
I wish. I'm going to go follow that Axel Rose around. That's for sure. Big fan.
So whoever brought that question in, we're really sorry. Different Axel, better Axel, in my opinion.
I agree with that.
So
but I am a fan of the music.
Perfect. Well, Axel, this has been a great conversation. Hope you had a good time.
Yes, I did. Thanks a lot, Chris.
Definitely. And thank you for being here today and having a chance to share your thoughts with all of us and all of our audience out there, right? And thank you to all of you for tuning in today.
Thank you.
This show is designed to really just be the start of a conversation and definitely not the end. So we hope that everything we talked about today carries over into happy hour, into your work, into your conference rooms, and into the next Whine Wisdom, which will be coming right around the corner, where we'll continue these types of conversations with the goal, once again, of making us all better and all stronger. So once again, Axel, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Actually.
Whoa, there we go.
My vacation's getting started now.
Everybody, have a great day. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks a lot, everyone.